at the two intersection case. And now things get more exciting. What you can have is substitution behavior in the wrong direction. I put wrong in quotes. So what you can have is, if we were to shift up the marginal cost curve, shift it up everywhere, nonetheless, the quantity could go up. And what's happening is, yeah, at a given quantity, all the prices are going up. But people may react to that by having a bigger quantity, which means a lower price, which is self-enforcing. And I'll give you an example of that. So here's the supply and demand version of the picture with two intersections. You had asked earlier about that, and I showed it in commodity space. This is in quantity versus price space. There were two intersections, A and C. You may have wondered, why is he saying A and C? Does he know the alphabet? What about B? B is another point where they intersect. But that one you might think of as a minimum. And that one, the indifference curve and the budget constraint are parallel, but they're not intersecting in the quantity space. Right? This picture tells us slopes, right? There's that constant of integration we can't see in this picture. So B you might think of as a minimum. How do you know which one would be picked? Well, if people are indifferent, maybe you can't tell. You have to flip a coin. But looking at this picture, which one would be preferred? If there weren't income effects, all you need to do is look at these two areas. We can notice that, look, if I started allocation C and I start moving to the right, I'm going through a phase where the marginal benefit is less than the marginal cost. I'm regretting that, right? But that's going to allow me to get into a phase where the marginal benefit exceeds the marginal cost. And that I might appreciate. And the question is whether the second phase overwhelmed the first place. Just compare those two areas, the orange and the red. If the orange area is bigger, pick A. If the red area is bigger, stay at C. That's how you do it. You look puzzled. And it's your question, so I really feel guilty if you're puzzled.
No, I'm puzzled by something else. Why are they called footballs?
It's American football. You guys are thinking of like a spherical football? I'm so sorry. We have time to fix that in the second edition. What do they call it internationally, a shape like that? I just got to call it American football?
Maybe. American football.
Yes. Here would be the case with income effects. If we have income effects, the red and the blue are different. The Hicksian demand curve, and I showed you how that worked. If the person were really indifferent between A and C, which is what I've declared in these various subtitles, then the Hicksian demand curve, the same Hicksian demand curves goes through A and C. If you looked in the commodity space, there's one indifference curve that's kissing up to the budget constraint in two distinct points, point A and point C, the same indifference curve. So there's the same Hicksian demand curve. I've also drawn in another Hicksian demand curve corresponding to the point B, which is a lower utility. You're not going to pick that. It's a kind of a minimum. So sometimes when on some of the homeworks we've had, some of the applications we worked on, we kind of think of this type of problem as, well, there's a phase where more or less the marginal cost is constant, or it's horizontal, pretty horizontal. Phase to the left, a phase to the right. That kind of looks like Murphy week 1. And you kind of use the Marshallian demand curve to analyze that. But then there's the kind of bridge between the high price, still horizontal, and bridging with that with the low price, horizontal. And the Hicksian demand curve bridges those. because a small change, maybe if, do I have that picture here? Yeah. Well, in this picture, small change in the preferences or in the supply causes you to jump. You're not really gaining a lot of utility, right? You're just jumping from one point in the indifference curve to the other. It's not a big change in utility, but it's a big change in behavior. And that's a movement along the Hicksian demand curve. I'm trying to find that picture.
So in that case, the demand went down? Is the demand went down or was it going up?
It's going up. The price is going down. Let's see, where were we?
I mean, the demand curves,
I didn't say this picture doesn't show what changed to make the person, maybe the green part just pushed up a little bit over there, or maybe it pulled down a little bit here, or the preferences changed a little bit. But you're moving along a Hicksian demand curve. Yes?
And so the reason we're saying it doesn't change much utility because you're paying the fixed cost.
Yes.
You're working more. Okay.
Yeah, normally we say, well, hey, isn't the area to the left of the Hicksian demand curve, isn't that the delta in the cost function? Aren't you saving all that money by having this lower price? Well, but you could have had the lower price. Why didn't you do it? The fixed cost. And those are exactly offsetting where you're indifferent. Yes. Yes.
Are these Hicksian demand curves much flatter outside this region?
Who knows? I don't think we can restrict those. So in the commodity space, the picture is something like what we had over here. A small change in either the green or the blue, someone indifferent between C and A could switch to strictly preferring one of them. And that's a big move in behavior, a big cut in other goods, a big increase in this good, a big change in the marginal cost, a big change in the marginal rate of substitution, but very little change in utility. So that's one of these instances where, and we see people doing that. And I'm going to give you an example of that in a few minutes. We see people in those situations, and the Hicksian demand curve is describing what they're doing. It's a very nice tool for studying those cases.